So we're going to continue with what we left off yesterday, which was we're learning about if a person is staying out of their house on Shabbos. What's the story with the lighting if they're going out to eat? So we're learning about very important ideas. So we left off at this footnote over here. This footnote is commenting on the very important idea that the Mishnah Berurah said, which is if a person is at a gathering, not with his spouse, and he's with other people, and the host isn't there, so everyone's got a light, right? But one person lights for everyone else. So what everyone should do is everyone should chip in a very small amount, and one person lights and seems like says the bracha, and everyone listens to the bracha and answers Amen. So the Mishnah Berurah over here quotes from the Chovos Hadar, important sefer, who says that let's say if all of them are eating from one person, the host, then they're all exempt with his lighting because they're considered like his family members who are being supported and relying on his food, his table, so to say. Now, this is only talking about if the host is eating with them or he has a messenger that's eating with them, then they're all considered one happy family, so to say, and they're relying on his table. However, in a situation where the host isn't eating with them, or similarly, if all of them are eating from some sort of joint, like joint meal,
Restaurant? No.
yeah, yeah, well,
We have to be the same owner.
yeah, that would a restaurant would be different because a restaurant everyone is doing their own thing. So if everyone is eating from mikupa mishutefes, which means potluck, right? Everyone brought a dish, and because of the dish that they brought, that they calculated beforehand, now they all have a meal, and everyone's from eating from everyone's dish. So no one could exempt them with the lighting. So now we have a doubt what to do. Because the obligation could very well fall on each individual to light. However, it's logical to say that the enactment of the rabbis is that they're still considered like one family, one happy family, so to say. And so therefore, one person would light and cover everyone. You know, they have, I'm aware, in not far from here, 20 miles, New York City, the real city, not far Rockaway, the fake New York City, you know. Especially New York City, but it's not the real.
We're gonna suffer.
So, okay, so let's see. So they have in some of the restaurants now, specifically Shabbos night, what they do is it's called a prefix, and you pay a certain amount of money beforehand, and everyone gets the same, a couple of options of what to eat, of course, multiple courses, and very fancy, very elegant. And I wasn't even informed that they allow davening to happen there. Mincha and Marv, it's only for Jews. So, you know, the restaurant's happy. They're making an extra $5,000, $10,000, however many people are eating there, however much it is. And they would be closed had it not been for this. It's Shabbos. Everything is paid for beforehand. It's totally fine. The question becomes with the lighting. So in that case, you have to apply what we learned yesterday to make sure that there's enough that when you light at home, make sure that it's going to last long enough that when you get home, it's still going to be lit. That was another important point. Just
So when do you light when you eat?
we typically don't light where we eat. Only
Typically.
when we're at home. When we're at home, but if we're going somewhere else,
What would happen if somebody would light and then get hana from it then and there before they go?
it doesn't count because it's not
I know.
Shabbos yet.
Let's say they wait till test. They're not going to the people's anyway.
If you look at the clock, that doesn't happen because shul's always over before then.
I understand, but let's say by the time people get home, etc., stuff like that. I just, understand early
All right,
shopping.
so we're gonna have to keep our eyes and ears out for that. About that case. But we'll see. There could very well be two different customs. We'll have to see this case come up more explicit than what we saw thus far. But we clearly see from the mission brews over here that it's that you should be lighting where you're sleeping. That was clear from the Mishnah Berurah that we saw yesterday,
Yes.
right? Okay, we don't need to remind
It
ourselves
was
of that.
only the it was only the those Vahada brought in the eating, right?
So let's pull it up because we're having a conversation. Let's talk about some accurate information over here. Right, so case was just to remind ourselves, you had people who were leaving their house, they need to light in another place. Okay? They're without their wife. So it says over here, even though your wife is okay. Okay, it says over here, you need to light. This is a key word, b'chedron. They need to light in their rooms. So the Mishnah Berurah comes along and says, even if your room is designated only to sleep in, and you're eating in another location. So it's pretty clear from this Mishnah Berurah
Mm-hmm.
that you see it's all about where you're dwelling, not where you're eating. Who's he quoting on that? He's quoting Achronim, Chav Gimel. Anyways, so it's pretty clear cut from this case over here. And then the next Mishnah Berurah, when he quotes the Derech HaChaim, by the way, they need to be long enough so that when you go back home, you're gonna get pleasure from it. AKA with the eating, forget about where you're eating. As long as where you're sleeping, that's more important than where you're eating. So, especially if where you're eating has light, anyways.
I guess I'll see if there are other sheets with whatever.
Electricity.
This is for sure.
Yeah, this is straight. This is cut and dry over here. This is clear cut. Clear cut. That's the word. This is clear cut. All right. So, anyways, that's basically Sif Vav in a wrap up of Sif Vav. Let's do Sif Zion just because of how short it is, and then what we'll do is we'll just speak out some very relevant cases which manifest itself based on what we just learned. Sif Zion is straightforward. You have a or Yureach she'in lo cheder miyuchad. Let's say you have a guest who doesn't have a specific room. V'gamin madlikin alav bebeso. Doesn't have a room. He's in a shared type of location, and also they're not lighting for him in his house. Sarich li'ishtate bepruta. So what he needs to do in that case is he needs to chip in a little bit of a pruta to be considered that he's like part of the group over there that's lighting, the people that are lighting. Mishnah comes along and says he doesn't have a cheder miyuchad. Hoyim hayaloi cheder miyuchad, but if he does have his own room, sarach la'adlik levarach, if he madlikin alav bebeso. So then he would technically need to light, even though they're lighting for him in his house. Now he would need to light, however, his host could be his messenger and thereby cover his obligation. The shtat, if he needs to combine with them, look in Hilchos Chanukah, Bereishim in Tafresh Ayin Zayin, beginning with Sim in Tafresh Ayin Zayin, Hevi Magen Avram B'Shem Teshuvas Rashal. The Magen Avram quotes the Rashal who says, "The Gam Habachurim Srichim Leishtatif," that the Bachrim also need to combine in people who aren't married, or if they are married, however, they're in a different location with their wife, they need to combine a little bit in to be part of whoever's lighting, and then they could be covered. Umasik sham de efshar dahaine davka kishoich b'fnei atzmo. To include over there specifically, this is talking about if you're eating by yourself. Aval im soimech im samach al shulchan malabayis. If you're lying on a host, harihu b'chal b'nei beis. Then you're included in the people of the house. Ayin sham. See over there, and then you'd be covered with the host who's gonna light. Pruta, you need to give a pruta v'huadinim ba'labayis makna lo chilik b'ner shelo b'matana. You don't need to chip in money if the host will makna give over the ownership rights of a portion of the candle that he's lighting or the oil as a gift. Like we wrote over there by Ner Chanukah. The other Mishnah Berurah comes out and says that you need to combine with them. You chip in a little bit and you fulfill your mitzvah of lighting the Shabbos candle. Since your wife isn't lighting in the house, you need to light in the place where you currently are. There is one more to see over here. No. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. So now we're going to see a few more notes on this.
Huh.
What are we doing here? Yeah. There's a few very relevant points that a lot of the more contemporary rabbis discuss on this. Basically, what comes out from what we just learned today and primarily yesterday is this idea of if you have, let's say, a lot of Bachrim who are in a yeshiva. Actually, so this could easily happen. So they're in a yeshiva. So now, what's the story over here? So now the question is, who's going to light? You have to light wherever you are. So technically, they're obligated. There's nothing to talk about. There's a full-fledged obligation on this. You look at the Aruch HaShulchan and Sifei, and therefore the Hanhala, or what's the English word for that? The
Administration.
administration, yeah, administration of the yeshiva or the seminary. It's incumbent upon them to make sure that someone is fulfilling the obligation. Either it could be someone in the staff, one of the uh, people who are learning there, the Talmidim. It could be a bachler if it's a seminary, one of the girls, lights and has everyone in mind. And lights in a public area, which is typically going to be done in the cafeteria where they're going to be eating. Because then that's a central location that everyone could get pleasure from. And then keep in mind, and this is the part that I highlighted, "Ubamakom boilet v'nika v'nir lion." That's the key line. You got to light in a place which is obvious for everyone who is there. Everyone could see it, everyone could get pleasure. And we're going to have to see if someone discusses in these hotels when they go on these, when people spend the Shabbos at a hotel, weekend bar mitzvah, a type of Pesach program, whatever the situation is, if you have all these little tea lights in the middle of a corner, in the middle of nowhere's land, in a desert that no one's going, what is that accomplishing? So we'll have to see if someone's going to discuss that case. But over here, you clearly see that it should be a place which is obvious for everyone. And you don't need to chip in because the candles are already property of the yeshiva or the seminary, and everyone paid to be there and is relying on what the yeshiva said, or everyone is there and is considered relying on their table. Someone gets a free scholarship. That happens all the time, right? For numerous reasons. So, therefore, that's the case over there.
In so a lot of hotels, they tell the ladies to stay there to get hana from the lights.
Yeah, okay. We have to figure out if the whole thing is a trick getting hana, you really getting actual pleasure or not. If it's the whole thing's a
It's not
trick, so then yeah, harama, exactly. So we have to see if someone talks about that also. If not, at least we're bringing up these topics which are certainly questionable. Now he says over here in the dorms you don't need to light because you have electricity already in the dorms. And when you light on the Shabbos candles, you have in mind electricity, and then you're gonna be good over there.
It was saying because since somebody's lighting in the cafeteria, they don't have to light in the dorm where they sleep.
And because they have electricity there.
And because they have electricity.
Yeah.
So that could be the same thing anywhere, right? That in other words, if you're going to eat by somebody's house,
Yeah.
right? So unless you want to be mishtatif with them, etc., or have the ton have you in mind, and you have electricity in your house,
Yeah.
the bathroom light, whatever it is, let's say even a hotel room, you leave the bathroom light on all Shabbos.
Correct.
That would work.
Yeah, but you still need to light.
You still need to light.
And when we say you need to light, we're assuming that that means in the place where you're going to be sleeping,
Okay.
which is more important than eating, which we'll have to come back to, like I said. So, but the electricity definitely counts, but you can't say bracha on electricity.
You can't say bracha.
Especially our lights, they're not incandescent. They're all LED.
No, 100%
They're right. There's nothing to talk about. You can't say bracha on that.
But
Yeah. Look at the footnote over here. Rosh Zalman Auerbach says nowadays we have electricity. If the candles are going to be placed in a certain corner far away from the table of the meal, that doesn't help at all. You're not getting pleasure from that. That's not increasing happiness in any way, shape, or form. And there's a concern that it could be a bracha in vain. Wow. So we're gonna have to learn more about that one. And therefore, you should not just rely on the electricity, and you should still light candles and don't change it. So this is an incredibly important practical idea nowadays that we have the electricity, and we're trying to figure out how to contend with that. If you have a male or female before they're married, and they are guests in someone else's house for Shabbos, they don't need to light candles. They're going to fulfill their obligation with the lighting that the mother of that house does, the woman of that house does. And even if they are in a dorm or in any other place, they don't need to light where they are going to sleep because you have the electricity. So this is saying with the dorms, you don't need to light in the dorms. A lot of times also they don't let you light in the dorms. There's safety issues, which many times happen. Um, if you want to be stringent, there is a way to maybe do it. Light in the dorms. There is what to discuss exactly how to do that, assuming that you have permission to do so. But this is talking about if you have a Shabbaton, all boys, all girls, and no one's there, everyone is bringing their a little bit in the meal. I remember I did this once, maybe twice in my life. Everyone brings one dish, and then all the dishes together make a beautiful Suda on Shabbos, beautiful meal. Everyone has the dishes together. One person has to light for everyone. That's basically the idea that always happens. And this is also if kids are home for Shabbos. Let's say they're in their teens, they're in their 20s, the parents go away for a Shabbos. The kids need to light if their parents go away. Another very important, relevant scenario which could happen, and so that's the important idea over there. So this is a very interesting thing that we said in the case of the fair in the Mishnah Brew that one person needs to light and everyone needs to answer. That's what we said. So the question is, wait, if the lighter, the madlik, he's a messenger for everyone else, we don't find that the person who sent the messenger needs to hear the bracha. So why do you need to over here? So maybe the Mishnah Berurah is talking about preferably you hear the bracha, but you don't need to use fulfill your obligation. Nowadays that we have electricity in all places, you could be more lenient that you don't need to hear the bracha from the person who is lighting because there's no obligation placed upon a person to light candles when his wife is already at home, even though he's not there. Just preferably, maybe you should do so. That, anyways, there's a discussion over there, and therefore, if a person's married, or there are a lot of people that are traveling from the house without their wives, and they're getting hosted somewhere, and someone's not lighting for them, one of them would need to light. That's basically the repetitive theme that keeps on happening, and he should have in mind that he doesn't want to fulfill his obligation with his wife. That's an interesting point, also. So that's basically the repetitive theme that keeps coming up over here, and I think that at least on this sif, we see a little bit of some sort of understanding of if you're lighting in an area, it should be in a place which everyone could see. You should get actual pleasure from it, not just in a trickful manner that you're playing tricks over here. Getting pleasure from these small little tea lights that are in the middle of a corner, a hole in the wall. We see some ideas from the SIF, and we're gonna have to see explicitly if this is brought down. It's just some of the exact cases that we're talking about, such as what was unanswered was if you're going out to eat and now you're sleeping at home. If someone explicitly just specifies that you should light at home and then get pleasure after, versus why it wouldn't be a possibility to light in your house, get pleasure from it before you leave, which for the man isn't really possible because he's going to go straight from shul to wherever he is, unless he's going to pick his wife up at home. You get quick pleasure and then you go to the other, and
Can the pleasure be gotten just after Shkia?
you could very well need Sates. And that's not a real pleasure. You're staying there for 3 seconds. That's why really should be preferable. When you come home, it should be lit. That's when you get real pleasure. I mean, that's the answer. When you get home, you get lit, you see it, you spend time in the room. It's in
I mean,
the.
I'm not saying realistically, but what people do practically is either the oil that they use or the candle that they have is not going to last for, let's say, a 2 hour meal that you're having by a friend's house on Friday night.
Well, that's why you need to put more oil in there. Sometimes I could put enough oil in there to last 8 hours. Things big. Big. You should
Well,
put in just a little bit of water.
it's tea
Tea
light.
lights what are you lighting with tea lights for at home? It's not preferable. It's an simon race time with that. You
When
should use oil.
use oil, but
Definitely not tea lights. Tea lights are like the worst.
I could recommend it, but
Saying candle would be even more respectable than a tea light. I don't know how long candles last for. I don't think they last that long.
candles would last for like 45 minutes, an hour top, maybe more.
I don't know that standard white little candle
Those white,
that they get around this tall. But then you can get bigger candles. The big candles last for a long time, but those don't really fit in the candlestick holders. So with the oil, you could really
You
You
could,
could
yeah.
you could really calculate the list alone
Mara
yourself.
just told me now we just got to eat it, invite it out Friday night. So
Yeah,
it's,
this is the story. This is the story. Mishnah, it's explicit Mishnah Berurah quotes the Derech Chaim. If it's not going to last when you come back, it's a bracha levatala. I don't know. Who says otherwise? I don't know. I don't know. Okay.